I brought the wrong gun and this is an idiot, and it's time for me to go because I don't want to sleep on this mountain. I love to enjoy cars for what they are. You drive them. You appreciate them, but you drive them. And the Auburn Bowtail Speedster that I had, that people knew of, I sold it, and I took as a part trade a 1957 Corvette. Red, white coats, steel wheels, soft top, you know, V57 Corvette. What was neat about that is the guy that I made the deal with lived down in Midland, Texas. Nobody pays attention to Midland or Odessa unless you know oil, except for one thing. Jim Hall and Chaparral race cars, which I immediately noticed. He's like, I sit on the board of the Petroleum Museum. I'm like, go further. So made the deal with him, and he invited me not only to get to see all of the exhibits up close, but to see Rattlesnake Raceway, which was Jim Hall's original test track and his original barns and shop. And that was an incredible experience. Here I am, I got a 57 Corvette. I have no plans, except one thing. I'm gonna go in the American Southwest, I'm gonna drive around for 2 weeks and just do whatever I feel like. So first thing, go west and get lost, right? And it's a 57 Corvette, it's a small block Chevy. If it breaks, I can probably find parts in AutoZone, you know? It's gonna make it. Go to the Carlsbad Cavern, see these just giant gaping holes 1,000 feet underground, and see these amazing views you can just see for hundreds and hundreds of miles. I'm like, that's Mexico, way out there, you know, just driving around. One thing I wanted to see, or at least get close to, was, you know, they tested the original atom bomb out there, Alamogordo. Like, I'm not going to get on the base and see right where it is, but I want to see this geography. I want to take this in. I want it to mean something to me, this journey, you know. I can't remember the name of the site, but there was, you go way, like a mile off on this gravel road and park in this gravel and hike up to this little mountain, and there's petroglyphs, you know, where like ancient people would draw drawings on rocks. I was the only one there. There's nobody even at the park. I could see for, you know, tens or hundreds of miles in any direction. And the only thing you get is the occasional like F-22 Raptor flying over of the military bases. And if you looked off in the distance, you know, you could see effectively where they tested the atom bomb. And there's the Gila Wilderness. I'm like, I want to go there. There's cliff dwellings, you know, where like ancient people lived in the cliffs. I'm like, this I gotta see. I'm like, I can make it before dark. I didn't make it before dark, not a 57 Corvette. And so I find like a bed and breakfast downtown. I'm like, this is cool. This looks historic. I'll go here. This is nice. I walk in, but it's an old brothel from the 1800s of the mining town, you know? And you stay in these rooms, and there's still like these like etchings of the girls, you know, of like the madame of the house. And I'm like, interesting. I'm like, I don't know if this place is haunted, but if it is, this could be entertaining. I don't know what, you know, and of course it wasn't. So I'm gonna leave, I'm gonna go to the Gila Wilderness. And oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, it's December when I'm doing this. 57 Corvette convertible, December, Rocky Mountains, Southwest, major change in weather, okay? I think it took me like 2-3 hours drive. I was driving slowly because it started to snow. And progressively worse and worse as the elevation went up. And I took pictures of the car, I was all excited. And then it started getting like kind of scary because there's no guardrails. There's 1,000-foot drops and stuff. There were dudes in Jeeps that were going there too. They stopped. Let's be frank, this was scary, especially when you're going down hills and there's no guardrails and stuff. I'm like, are these brakes good? Can I shift down a gear? So I make it. I make it to the middle of the wilderness. And there's like one park ranger outpost stand. And I come rolling up in the snow in a bright red 57 Corvette. I walk out. They already see me coming. They come out, and I said hello, and they go, you are the only person here. You have our undivided attention. I'm like, driving around this car, and I want to see the cliff dwellings. He's like, let's go. And we hike up, and it was amazing. You know, see where these ancient people lived in this beautiful valley, and I spent time climbing around, and him telling me, and it just, you know, it really talks to you. The other thing I heard is in the wilderness, there were hot springs, natural hot springs. And I'm like, I have got to see this. I want to sit in hot springs or something. You know what I mean? But I don't know what that is. So I asked the park ranger about it. He's like, no, you don't want to do that. Like, there's not that much daylight. You're by yourself. There's like 3 river crossings to get there. There's no path, and it's out that way. I'm like, oh, it's okay. Well, fair enough. That makes sense. But show me where it is on a map anyway. So I drive the Corvette over to the last place you can drive anywhere to park this, and it's this big floodplain. It's all like this amazing mud and everything. I'm walking. The last thing I saw that looked like mankind was wolf reintroduction habitat. And I'm like, I've been around wolves. Good to know. Yeah, they're skittish. So I'm walking, first stream crossing. It's cold in the mountains. So I'm taking off my shoe boots and everything and rolling my pants and freezing, walking through these rocky streams. I'm like, I don't want to fall down in this because it's moving pretty good. So across like 2 streams, it's really tedious, going up and down and over and around, and eventually going, and I don't actually know what I'm looking for. But eventually I see steam. I'm like, yes, hot springs. And what was cool is the last way to cross this little river that was freezing went right to the hot springs. So I went from freezing to warm. And then I like kept walking up to the mouth of it and realized hot springs doesn't mean warm springs. It means hot springs. So I kept warning, I'm like, whoa, whoa, and like jumped out because it's immediately getting up to like, you can cook steak in there, okay? All the algae's dead. So I'm sitting in the hot springs by myself and I'm like, this is great. And then after an hour, I look at my clock and I'm like, I got an hour of light left. In the middle of wilderness, standing in hot springs like an idiot, with 3 river crossings left to get to my Corvette, and there's snow in a wolf reintroduction habitat, and I've got a fixed blade case knife and a PPK. I brought the wrong gun and this is an idiot, and it's time for me to go because I don't want to sleep on this mountain. It was fun just to get back to the Corvette. I do get back to the Corvette. I didn't see any wolves. And I drive and I'm back through the snow, and it's way snowier than it was before, and it's getting dark. But what's interesting is that's when I actually did start to see wolves. Like a pack go across and everything like this. I'm like, okay, well, I got the max out of this experience. I'm just going to go back and call that a day. Successful day number 1 of the journey, right? There's no hotels and stuff out there. I found like a hunting lodge. And there's this old guy with a beard, like who I befriended and watched American Pickers with, and this is what these kind of journeys are, and they're awesome. But the Corvette breaks. It broke the alternator bracket. So I had to start robbing bolts off of other parts of the engine or manifold to put it together to work. And I remember like this windshield was separating and it was getting really cold, so I had electrical tape. I had to find a Napa or something to get some parts to fix this thing. It's really cold. But I stopped there and I fix it. I'm thinking, I wonder what's in this town. And I realized the Lowell Observatory. And I've heard that name, but I didn't realize what it was. But the Clark telescope, which is from the late 1800s, is there in the original big, observatory silo. And this is this grand, like giant steampunk, otherworldly looking telescope. It's open. There's this girl I knew back in my hometown, which loved history and things like this. So I'm like, called her up, I'm like, FaceTime me. I could show you something. I'm in this telescope. She's like, I can't FaceTime you. I'm in the shower. I'm like, you have to FaceTime me. I'm going to show you the moon right now. And she's embarrassed or whatever. I'm like, no, I don't care. I'm just going to show you this. And she gets so excited. So I hold the cell phone up to the amazing telescope and move it just enough to focus the moon. And she's just awestruck. And I'm like, if you push these 2 buttons, you can take a screenshot of the moon. And I hung up, and afterward I thought to myself, she was so captivated by the moon that she didn't realize that I told her she could take a screenshot of her FaceTime while she was in the shower. It's a good thing I'm a nice guy. So, train ride up to the Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon's Grand Canyon. Have fun, come back. Guys are playing, old music on you. You're sitting on the back of the train just taking in this majesty. I want to ride the Durango Silverton narrow gauge steam locomotive. I want to go to Durango, and I'm going to Pikes Peak Summit. I'm doing this. I had blankets wrapped around me. I was wearing everything, man, like this, driving this Corvette. And I make it to Sulphur Springs. And of course, Pikes Peak is no joke. It's 14,000 foot elevation. It's also December. So I pull up in the 57 Corvette convertible. I had the top up though, To the woman, I'm like, how are conditions? She's like, well, the wind's ripping pretty good and there's some snow, but it's open, have fun. It was a whole new kind of brutal winds. And I'd get out and like your perspective is just shot. You can see multiple states. And I parked the car at the edge of the mountain. There's no parking blocks, and just get out and I'm like, look at that. I'm gonna die. I'm freezing. The wind's ripping, it had to be ripping 50 miles an hour. The choke sensed, it's cold out, so we should go to full choke for sea level. We're at 14,000 foot elevation. You've never seen an engine flood like that before. Nothing. So I'm like, oh crap. I gotta figure out how to make this 57 Corvette start on the top of this mountain in December. Otherwise, this is not gonna be pleasant. But I brought some tools. And there was some random traveler there, and I got this woman to hold the hood because the wind was ripping so hard, you couldn't hold it open. So my plan was I get the air filter off and I'll safety wire the choke wide open so it can't choke. And I got in, she was very nice to let me do that, and that was my one shot, right? So she went off, I shut the hood, and I cranked it with it at full throttle and let it get past the accelerator shot and cleared it out, and it like just barely chugged to life, enough where I'm barely keeping it going. And you go to stick it in gear, it wants to die, so I had to like kind of stick it in and out of gear to kind of get it to where now I can kind of use gravity to get down. So my plan to not die on the way down is if I lose brakes, just keep downshifting, and if that doesn't work, I'm just going to crash it into the side of the hill, so go off. Everything was fine. You got to enjoy life. We got a great, big, grand nation, and you can travel anywhere you want. Go. Get in your car. What's stopping you? You got a few stone chips. Big deal. I washed my car when it was done. Everything's fine. I had a grand adventure.
At Dollar Shave Club, you're always in control. Simply choose the delivery dates and frequency that suits your schedule so you don't run out.
Get a shave, shower, or oral care starter set for just $5 at dollarshaveclub.com.